Hello, my name is Andy, FPL Teach Mode, and you are here for your 10-minute DreamSport video. It is here weekly, it is here for you, and it's here to talk about the monsters to try and get you to win some fake money in the DreamSport game. Now, as you can see in Game Week 2 this week, we've got some fantastic fixtures that we're going to talk about today already. We've got Man City versus Norwich. Now, I think Man City are going to be very, very heavily backed here, and you can see that in the prices too. You're not going to be able to stack these too much, probably just two at the most, but I'll talk to you about what my favourite stacks are with Man City against Norwich. Aston Villa and Newcastle, I think, is going to be quite a high-scoring game. I don't think I will be backing any defenders from this game, but attacking-wise, we could see some joy from both teams. Crystal Palace versus Brentford, I believe people are going to be very, very high on Brentford in this game. And actually, there's a sneaky little differential there where you could go for Crystal Palace over Brentford. Really, really good idea in my opinion. Leeds versus Everton, I haven't been touching much, to be honest, in a lot of my drafts. But I would probably favour Leeds to bounce back from their loss against Manchester United and maybe get a result against Everton. Brighton, Watford, I'm backing Brighton a little bit more, but they are quite highly priced for a team that I don't see absolutely mauling Watford, so that's worth keeping an eye on. Wolves, Spurs, I think Spurs are actually quite a good price considering some of their assets and how they can return. So Spurs are probably going to be backing a little bit more than Wolves, but it could be quite a low-scoring affair. I think Spurs are predicted to get about 1.3 goals in that game, so not the best. Southampton, Manchester United, you're going to want to be going for some of those Manchester United assets. For me, I think if you're going to do the monster, you're probably going to want to have two teams. You're probably going to want to have one team with Manchester United and fading Man City, and then you're probably going to want to have one team with Man City and fade Manchester United. It just makes sense. Fading is when you completely ignore a team in the hope that they don't do as well as people think they will. So if Man City don't beat Norwich and they only draw 0-0 or they get a 3-2 result like they did before, and you've got a team with Manchester United, then that's ideal. But if you go for Manchester United, if you go for Man City and Manchester United don't do very well, then obviously you've got the best of both worlds there. So that's probably how I would play it. I don't think I'd be going for a team with both Man City and Man United in it because you're just not going to be able to afford it. But there will be people out there that do that and they use up a lot of their budget. So probably not the way to go for me. And then Arsenal, Chelsea, I think I'm going to be back in Chelsea. It's going to be interesting to see whether Lukaku plays in that game. It's going to be tough to pick Lukaku because they play the latest game. But I do believe Chelsea are going to be quite good defensively in this game. So I think I'd be backing them defensively more than in an attacking sense. Worth noting, by the way, 4 games at 3 o'clock. So you will know the lineups for Man City. You'll know the lineup for Norwich, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Palace, Brentford, Leeds and Everton. Knowing the lineup for City is always good. So you can see if they play Mahrez, if they play Sterling, if they play De Bruyne, you can get them in with confidence the fact they're starting, which I think will be massive this week. Now, if we have a look at the type of team that I would set up, I think, for me, if he is confirmed starting, De Bruyne, for me, has got to be straight in there. I think he's somebody that is still getting back to full fitness, so it might be a bit of a gamble. But when you've got somebody like De Bruyne, I think you've got to play him. If you are somebody that's going to set this up early and not wait till lineups and then won't be able to be there when lineups are setting in the last hour, you can put De Bruyne in knowing full well that with the safety net, Sterling will come in or Mahrez will come in or Grealish will come in. I mean, you're going to be unlucky to get all 4 of those out. But I think De Bruyne is a great pick personally. If he's confirmed starting, he's straight in there. If he isn't, I think I'd actually fancy Mahrez over Sterling myself. Now, they are so expensive. 14.8 million for a City midfielder is a lot of money. So I am only going to have one more player from City, I believe. And I think that is going to be Cancelo. Really, really like him. I think he can get forward well in this game. He started well against Spurs. He had a lot of shots against Spurs, actually, but obviously he didn't get any attacking returns, didn't get a defensive return either. But for 11.2 million, I think that's not bad, personally. I think he's somebody that can get you goals and assists as a defender, which is exactly what you need. Now, if you weren't going for the City double up, I think what I would do is I would target Manchester United. I think you have to go for Bruno Fernandes. He's going to be very, very heavily captained. He's going to be very, very heavily owned as well. 13.4 million. I don't feel like that there is a 1.4 million difference in value between him and De Bruyne. Yes, De Bruyne is at home, but Bruno Fernandes playing against a very, very makeshift and poor Southampton defence. There is no reason why Bruno can't do well. Now, I would most probably want to double him up with Greenwood. I feel like that 1.4 million less for Fernandes over De Bruyne. I can afford to get somebody like Greenwood in my team for 11.9 million. The worry with this, obviously, is that we won't know the lineups before it comes out. But I think you'd be pretty confident in those two would be starting. And then I think I would also want a Man United defender in there as well. Luke Shaw is obviously the one that a lot of people will want to get. It's because of those attacking returns as well. But you can see already we've used up over 30 million of our budget just on those Man United players. So we're going to have some budget enablers in there as well. Now for me, my budget enablers this week are Crystal Palace. I've mentioned them already. I really like Crystal Palace this week. I feel like Brentford are going to be overly hyped because of their first fixture win against Arsenal, whereas actually I feel like Palace could do quite well. I'm not going to back Palace defensively because I feel like Vieira is trying to get them to play an attacking style of play. I'm going to back someone like Benteke. I feel like Benteke could do well against this Brentford team. And I'm also going to back their talisman, Zaha, as well. I feel like Zaha could have a good game against them. He was quiet the other day, but he was still involved as much as he could be. And he is somebody that I think could get some joy against this Brentford team. And for 9 million and 8.7 million, respectively, I feel like they could do quite well. Now, another team that I think I'm going to be backing quite a lot as well is Aston Villa. Now, not defensively, I don't think, but I think I quite fancy them in an attacking sense. Danny Ings, if you can get him in, but he is quite expensive at 11 million. And then you've also got Buendia and Bailey, who I think I'm going to fancy Bailey a bit more than Buendia personally. Mainly because I feel like Buendia is going to be in that quarterback role all the time, and I don't really fancy him in that quarterback role myself. I feel like Bailey's going to be that winger that gets in the box and attacks the opposition a little bit more than Buendia does. Now, as we go down through, I'm not going to be picking any Southampton players. I'm not going to be picking any Norwich players because unless you really fancy an upset, I don't really see how that's going to go for you. Spurs. Have I touched on Spurs yet? I haven't. Spurs, I think Son is very nicely priced at 9.7 million. You can see I've got my 5 midfielders and 2 strikers now already. I really like Son in this fixture. I feel like for 9.7 million, he's very nicely priced. He's going to be on the set pieces. He's going to be attacking. Don't be surprised if this game's 0-0 in the first half. That tends to be how Wolves play. But Son at 9.7, I think is great value. Kane as well at 9.9 million. Keep an eye on Kane at 9.9 million. If you feel like he could start in that game, then you must get him in. Let me just double check again whether they play early. I don't think they do. No, so they play 2 o'clock on the Sunday, unfortunately. So I think that's probably a bit of a risk. The other thing you could say about that is as well, there's no safety net for him. So if you bring him in, Scarlett's not going to be playing. So if you bring him in and he doesn't play, you're at a real loss there. So if you fancy the gamble, go for it. But if you don't, that is absolutely fair enough. Now, another team, Chelsea, I think, are another team that people can look to and think, actually, they're quite nicely priced this week. Again, I wouldn't be going for attack. I think I'd be going more for defence. If Alonso starts, I think Alonso is a great pick. I think there's nothing wrong with him whatsoever. I also don't mind the looks of Chalobah either. I think Chalobah is a very, very good price. You can see I've only got 4.8 million left, so I'm going to have to trim the fat here somewhere, probably take out Greenwood. But I don't mind this Chelsea double up because I do feel like they are going to keep a clean sheet against Arsenal. I feel like this Arsenal team are going to be missing Aubameyang. They're going to be missing Lacazette. They're going to be missing a lot of their firepower. They look lightweight against Brentford. This Chelsea team are obviously a much better team than Brentford, so that's probably the way I would go. Now, in goal, I won't be doubling up. I can't double up there with a United player again. And also, you never know with Southampton. They could break away and score once against United. Shaw obviously gets those attacking returns, which is what we want him in there for. Same with Alonso, and Chalobah look very good as well. But in goal, I think in terms of value, I won't be going with anybody above 10 million. I don't feel like that's good value personally. So that's all the City players. And even the United players, I don't think I'd be going for there. I think you never know. You could back yourself against Sanchez, but again, for 9 million, I think that's a bit much. Hugo Lloris is not a bad shout personally. I think Lloris and Guaita, 8 million and 7.9 million. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And then as you go down, maybe Meslier at 7.8 as well. I wouldn't be spending north of 9 million on a keeper. I think is a bit too much. So I would probably go for someone like that personally. Now you'll notice here, I haven't stacked these as best as I could, although I have got Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Chelsea, United. You never know. I might take someone like Son out and bring a Leeds midfielder in there. Maybe someone like Rafinha. That might be quite a good shout too. Right, as you can see, I'm 3 million over there, so I would probably have to take Son out and bring someone in. But there you go. Right. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed your 10-minute DreamSport video for this week. Make sure you give it a go. It's such a good system, especially if you don't like playing for money. This is a way that you can actually win money without actually spending any money, which is such a good way of doing it. So, good luck this game week. I hope your last game week went really well as well. I really enjoyed doing the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll be here every Thursday. Oi, oi.